And we are live.
And welcome into Gator Bytes on the 1010XL Podcast Network, also being simulcast on the Florida Gator 1010XL Facebook page. Today's Gator Podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. They're Northeast Florida's leading orthopedic center, providing an unparalleled level of care across numerous locations in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine. That includes Riverside, Northside, the South Side, the beaches, Fleming Island, and St. John's. He is Graham Marsh. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. You are Florida Gator fans, and I imagine most of you are still very upset about 41-17 last Saturday to the Miami Hurricanes, a defeat that we have talked about all week. Florida's back on the field tomorrow against Samford with what appears to be a new starting quarterback. DJ Lagway, the freshman, appears to be getting the start because Graham Mertz is still in concussion protocol, and we'll get there. As I welcome in Graham Marsh. Graham, I know you've had a couple of podcasts to get things off your chest. I've had an entire week of Hacker After Dark on 1010XL to get things off my chest, and yet here we are 6 days later, and it doesn't feel a whole lot better than it did last Saturday evening.
No, it doesn't really at all. And I think that kind of speaks to the state of the program. Like, you know, I watch football very emotionally. I'm an emotional person when I watch games.
Yeah. When I was your age, I was too.
Yeah, so
now, of course, I'm an objective broadcast journalist.
Right. No bias towards any team whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so, you know, knowing that I'm emotional about the game and will feel certain ways based on what I see happening right in front of me during a game, typically before I'll say stuff and I won't have much of a filter, but typically before I start to really believe it to myself, I need to give it 3 to 4 days. Maybe like Wednesday or so of that week is when I'll start being like, okay, how do I actually feel about the situation? What did I actually feel that was true about those feelings? Nearly everything I felt in the swamp on Saturday, watching them get their butt kicked right in front of my face, was still what I felt Wednesday, Thursday, and now Friday.
I mean, I felt anger in the sense of not so much to the team, but honestly, I felt anger towards Billy Napier. And I like Billy. I've defended Billy. On this radio station, I've been one of the guys that says Florida's fired coaches too quickly. I've been one of the guys that said, look, man, we're in this position being Florida. You've had 6 head coaches in less than 2 decades. I think there's an argument you fired Mullen too quickly. There's an argument you fired Muschamp too quickly. Why do you keep constantly resetting? I like what Billy Napier has done with the football staff. I like what he's doing recruiting-wise. I just genuinely like the guy and have been defending him. And they go out there on Saturday after 8 months. They had 8 months to get ready for Miami because, of course, they didn't go to a bowl game last year. They knew the ramifications. They knew not only what it meant for their program, they knew how important it was to Cristobal and Miami. And they go out there and they look like that. No excuse. That's pathetic. It's indefensible. I like Billy held press conferences this week. I didn't even care.
Yeah,
I don't care what the tape looked like. I don't care that they're going to respond from this or he believes in the team. I don't care. You had 8 months, and that's what you put on the hallowed ground of Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, Florida Field, in front of your fans. That, to me, was embarrassing, and it was pathetic.
Will you allow me to get an extra thing off my chest?
I would love for you
that
to.
That just came to me yesterday. So, as I'm sure you're aware, on Thursdays in Gainesville, they do the coaches radio show, right? And I worked on that back when in my college days when Dan Mullen was there, and I would be part of that crew and helping them out and whatever. And it was a cool thing, whatever. So Billy Napier does it now, right? Saw a quote that Billy said during the show. The defense is closer than you'd think. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. The defense is closer than we'd think? I mean, you watched the game Saturday, right?
They had no pressure on Cam Ward. He could do whatever he wanted. Now, granted, Cam Ward's a hell of a player. Let's give Cam Ward his credit, his flowers. Let's give Miami their flowers. Miami beat Florida to death. Cam Ward had all day to throw the ball. Just the Miami weapons at skill position. You look at the Miami receivers and running backs compared to what Florida had at running back and wide receiver. Just completely night and day, man. Completely night and day. And the thing that irritates me the most about it, both of it, Cristobal was 12-13 coming into the year. Billy was 11-14. They were the same guy. They were also hired 8 days apart in 2020. What was it? 2021, I guess.
Yeah.
8 days apart.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the exact same timeline. They had the exact same record after last season, save one game. Miami went about building their program differently than Florida, obviously. And Miami comes into your house and does that to you? The defense is not closer than we think. The offense is not closer than we think. That was awful on Saturday.
Yes.
That's a comment. You know what that is? That is a CYA comment. That is a cover your you-know-what comment. And I don't care how they look against Samford tomorrow. All due respect to my alma mater, Wolfson High School might look good against Samford tomorrow. Samford lost to West Georgia last week, who was playing their first Division I college football game. And West Georgia beat them 48-39. All right, this is not your older brother's Samford team. Florida can go out there blindfolded and win by 50 tomorrow. I don't care what happens tomorrow. It's all about A&M.
Well,
and if they go out there,
if they play poorly, you'll care.
Well, right. But, I mean, dude, if they lose to Samford tomorrow, he's getting fired.
Correct. He won't make it off the field.
No, he will get fired if he loses to Samford. Again, they lost to West Georgia last week. So, assuming they beat Samford, which I think is a pretty safe assumption, A&M. And we'll get to the comments. You're a Gator alum. You've worked on those shows. I want to talk about that press conference, and I want to talk about the thing he said about the basement. I think that kind of got blown up out of proportion.
I did too.
To me, this was a simple matter of you knew the importance of the game. You were at home. You and Cristobal are on the same timeline, hired at the same time, 2 years in, and they are that much better than you. It was very, very frustrating.
Yeah, and the defense is better than you'd think comments, that should be the comment everybody's outraged about, not the Central Florida thing, in my opinion. And the reason that should be the comment you're so outraged about is because the last 2 off seasons heading into the year, what has been the Billy Napier message to the media, to fans, what have you? It's been, everybody's counting us out, but we're a little bit better than you think we are. We're a little bit better than people think we are. It's the quiet confidence, and we're kind of a sleeping giant right now, and everybody's counting us out, and no one knows how good we're going to be, but we're going to shock the world, and we're this and that, whatever. And then football gets played. And they prove everybody that had their doubts right.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me one more time that anything is better than we think it is, because it's not. We see the game, dude. I don't care if what you see in practice makes you think it's a little bit better than people are giving you credit for. Saturdays is what counts. When you show up on Saturdays and you play football games, you got to produce.
Mm-hmm.
And when Cam Ward has enough time back there every time he throws to have a cup of coffee, call his mom, take a nap, go study for his next test at Miami, and then throw a pass, and by the way, it's going to be a touchdown? Give me a break. Shut up. Stop telling me that so-and-so is better than you think. This unit's better than... No, it's not.
No, it's not. And
that was arguably the worst defensive line performance I've ever seen from a Florida Gator unit.
Yeah, they got no pressure whatsoever, which was unbelievably disheartening. And look, it's the numbers, man. Billy can say everything he wants. And Strickland, the AD, can say everything that they want. I mean, Strickland knows what's going to happen if he has to fire Billy. It's probably not going to be good for him. So, I mean, there's a whole thing there. There's going to be a domino effect. The bottom line is Billy Napier's record against the rivals. Florida State, he's 0-2. Georgia, he's 0-2. That's 0-4. LSU, he's 0-2, right? That's 0-6. Miami, he's now 0-1. Tennessee, they did beat last year, lost the first year. What is that, 1-8? He's 1-8 in 9 games against Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, Miami, and Florida State.
And
1-8.
He's 1-8, and there's also zero reason to believe that record's going to improve this year.
No, it's not going to improve.
He's already played one rival and gotten blown out of his own stadium in week 1. And I got news for you. I'm just going to go ahead and break the news. Everybody hearing, I think this will not be news to. This is not going to be news to you. They are going to lose in Knoxville, Tennessee. Just going to break that news for you now. They're going to lose in Jacksonville, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to break that news for you now.
Big time.
Florida State looks terrible, so we'll see at the end of the year.
They're not going to go into Doak and win.
But I hear you. I probably tend to agree. But that one I won't just count as a loss right now. The other two we can count as L's. They're not going into Tennessee and winning. It's not going to happen.
They're not going to beat LSU.
Yeah, they're not going to beat LSU. Correct. They're not going to beat LSU. So that's 3 more games.
And look, I mean, and I hate to just like turn the corner here because I was defending Billy Napier. And am I saying Billy Napier needs to be fired? Well, if he loses to Samford, then that's a different conversation. I don't think Billy Napier needs to be fired, aside from losing to Samford, who lost to West Georgia, without some catastrophic things happening against Texas A&M and UCF and Kentucky and all that. What I'm saying is, it made me look bad. I had to eat an incredible amount of crow, and I've gotten grief from my Gator buddies. You're an alum. I got Gator buddies that are alumni. They've asked me, why are you defending Billy Napier? He's terrible. I said, well, I like what he's doing. There is merit to the direction the program's going in. That merit got snapped in half on Saturday afternoon at Florida Field when Miami came in there and did that to you. Now, if Texas comes in there and does that, or if Georgia comes in there and does that, or if Ohio State comes in there and does that, all right. This was Miami, who went 7-6 last year.
Yeah.
And you looked like you did not belong on the field with them, on your home turf.
Yeah.
It was the varsity versus the junior varsity.
It was.
And that, to me, was just really, really eye-opening. Obviously, we're going to get to Lagway and what that means moving forward. But you were in that stadium.
I was.
I mean, what was the vibe leaving?
It was just gross. Like, it was Dylan Denmark and I, who do the podcast together, and we were at the game together. I said it, I believe, and he agreed. That's the worst game I've ever been to in the Swamp.
Georgia Southern?
I wasn't at Georgia Southern.
Okay.
If I was at Georgia Southern, that'd probably be number one. And even like Georgia Southern was really, really terrible. Don't get me wrong. Georgia Southern was at the end of the season. Things were already falling apart. Muschamp was already.
Yeah, you knew they were cooked.
He was a dead man walking.
Yeah.
This was like you came into this game with like high expectations and hype. And by the time, man, this should put it in context. No one was excited to sing "Won't Back Down."
Mm. The Miami fans seemed like they were.
Yeah. No one wearing some fans wearing orange. Nobody wearing blue was excited, or I guess white, was excited to wear or sing "Won't Back." When "We Are the Boys" and "Won't Back Down" came on at the end of the third quarter, everybody was like, whatever. Like, I guess we got
it's
to
38-10. Yeah,
I know, and if your product on the field looks so bad that a group of fans that absolutely love those two traditions and haven't been able to do them since last year, and this is game one, this is the first time they get to do it again in the Swamp for this season, and no one's even excited about it, then you've really broken the spirit and broken the soul of Gator fans.
That's a good point. I want to get into that in one moment. Today's Gator podcast, Gator Bytes, is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For the highest quality care, you can rely on Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for any orthopedic injury or concern. You can log on to their website by going to se-ortho.com, and you can listen for Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, the good Dr. Kevin Murphy, on Thursday mornings in the 7 o'clock hour with Jeff and Dan right here on 1010XL for his weekly analysis of injuries in sports. I said this on social media Saturday night, and I'm even stronger about it now 6 days later. Coaches can survive, coaches and staffs, administrations, they can survive fans' frustration. They can even survive fans' anger.
I know what you're about to say.
What they can't survive is apathy. Once people stop caring, ask Willie Taggart.
Yeah.
Once Florida State was getting 45,000 people in Doak Campbell, and the Tallahassee businesses that were losing money on that, and the booster clubs saw that, and once apathy set in, Willie Taggart was out the door very quickly. They could have survived frustration. They could have survived anger. They're not surviving apathy. Are we very close to apathy taking over for Gator Nation?
We're just about there, I would say. I think, I mean, you're right. They're going to beat Samford tomorrow. And I would say...
And they'll feel great in doing it. It'll be 65-10, and everything will be wonderful. But to me, it means nothing until A&M rolls in the next week.
Yeah. And I would say if if they lose, you and I spoke about this game. You were kind of the first person to put me on this, and I totally agree that the A&M game was a sneaky more important game than people were giving it credit for because everybody preseason was talking about Miami. If Mike Elko could, to steal your line from you, because you've been the one to say this, but if Mike Elko comes in Game 3 and beats Billy Napier in year 3, not only beats him, but at this point, I think they might take care of him pretty good. Even though A&M didn't look great, but Notre Dame's a really good football team. If A&M wins that game and takes care of them, apathy's arrived.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And I look, this is what I said about a month ago because I was thinking about it. That's A&M's first road game under Mike Elko.
Mm-hmm.
It's Elko's first SEC game as a head coach. A&M's gonna crush McNeese State tomorrow, and they're gonna have the same thing as Florida. They lost to Notre Dame, although they looked a lot better than Florida did. They're gonna crush a 1AA opponent, and then they're gonna come to Gainesville. It's only gonna be Game 3 for Mike Elko in year number 1. And in Game 3, if he takes care of Billy in Florida, and who's in year 3 in the swamp, at that point, man, I mean, what is left to be excited about here in 2024? Knowing what's coming up down the line.
How do you think it's going to feel if Scooby Williams or Jaden Hill are making some plays, too, in that game?
Yeah, look, the former Gators have gone to greener pastures. A lot of former Gators have gone to greener pastures, and maybe they saw the writing on the wall. Maybe they saw the iceberg up ahead, and they were getting off the Titanic. Princely Emmanuel, Chris McClellan, a lot of these
Trevor
guys. Etienne, right.
Well, Richie Leonard.
Caleb Douglas. Well,
yeah.
Richie Leonard, I bet's regretting that now, but Caleb Douglas.
Why would Richie Leonard be regretting that? I know his team sucks, but this one sucks too.
Yeah, well,
Richie
right.
Leonard's regretting going to Florida State. I don't think he's regretting leaving Florida.
Yeah, that's true. It's bad when you're both Florida and Florida State, and the only silver lining a couple weeks into the year is that your arch rival's terrible too.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can say that's positive.
I had Dan Hicken in here yesterday to shoot our Weekend in Jacksonville segment we do once a week, and he said the only enjoyment Florida and Florida State fans are going to get this year is watching each other.
Yeah. All right, you're Gator alum, orange and blue blood pumping through your veins. You know a lot of Gator alums. You go to a lot of the games. Where are they with Billy Napier right now?
I don't want to go to a game as long as he's the coach anymore.
I think that speaks volumes.
And I don't think I'm alone. And look, I mean, to get back to your apathy point here, if just right now, because the conversation is how close are we to that? Look right now, okay? If you had to put money on it, A&M is a big opponent coming in, right? That's not the Sanford game. That's not a cupcake. That's a big opponent that should make Gator football fans want to be in the swamp for.
3:30 game, ABC next week.
What capacity or how many people are going to show up? Do you think?
I would think it'll be. I would think it would be a decent crowd next week if they lose to A&M.
It'll be decent.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll be sold out? I don't think so.
I think it'll be sold out, quote unquote, sold out.
But there'll be empty seats.
But I bet there'll be 5, 6, 7,000 empty seats.
I bet about 75 come to that game, 75, 80.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound terrible, and it's not. But almost any other year that game would actually legitimately sell out, no problem. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's going. I personally don't think it's going. I agree. It might be the air quotes sold out because of resale and all that stuff. But you're going to see some good empty seats, I think, in the upper side of the what used to be the student side. It's kind of all one thing now. It's a little bit different how they break it down. But that side, the side the sun hits pretty bad, we'll have a decent amount of empty seats up top, and then I think it only gets worse from there.
I want to get to Billy. I want to get to DJ Lagway in a moment. Quickly to Billy's basement comment. No basements in Florida. We get it. I don't care about that. Obviously, he was caught up in the moment. What I was told was, and I had Nick De La Torre of Gators Online and On 3 on my show on Hacker After Dark, and I didn't know this, so I'm happy Nick kind of clarified it. When Billy said that on Monday about the Twitter rule Central Florida, people being, Twitter, whatever, that was the third straight question he had gotten about social media criticism.
Mm-hmm.
He answered the first two as politely as he could. That was the third one in a row. So that could be frustrating. Yeah. I get that from Billy Napier. You're basically getting asked the same thing 3 times in a row. Although you're 11-15, you kind of got to take it. Every news outlet snipped what they knew would get clickbait, what they knew people would be upset about. And apparently, if you keep the quote going, like the 7 seconds they don't show you after what was clipped out, he said something along the lines of, but then again, maybe we deserve that criticism. They didn't show that.
Yeah.
They didn't show what he said. They took out the part of the quote which they knew was going to get the most reaction, and it did. I saw Mike Greenberg and Paul Feinbaum and all these national guys just ripping Billy Napier. Look, there's plenty of reason to rip Billy Napier, and I think I've done a pretty good job. You've done a pretty good job in the last 20 minutes of giving our opinion on what's going on at Florida. But that comment about the basement thing and getting criticized on social media, I thought was blown way out of proportion.
Yeah, well, the national guys like Greenberg that picked it up,
didn't give any context to it whatsoever, mind you.
Well, yeah.
Which I thought was pretty unfair.
Because you think Greenberg's up on a Monday watching Billy Napier press conferences?
No, but some producer told Mike Greenberg or gave him the exact quote, hey, I want your reaction to this. And Greenberg turns his mic on and just goes without really knowing what's happening.
Right, because he heard a coach that everybody knows stinks right now say something controversial.
And I would wonder if he even heard it. Normally in those situations, the producer just gives him the quote.
Yeah, I agree. Here's what's going on. They're terrible right now, so this type of thing is going to happen. Almost anything that's not completely on the straight and narrow that he says is going to blow up and make him look like an idiot. This happened at the end of McElwain's tenure. This happened at the end of Mullen's tenure. When you start losing...
McElwain said some wild stuff, though.
He did.
He said some wild stuff.
He did. But the point is, when they were winning with McElwain, everything was, this kind of aw shucks gee whiz thing is funny.
Yeah.
And then when they were losing, it was like, shut the bleep up, right? And what's happening when and I agree with you. I didn't really think that particular quote and comment was really that bad. It was taken out of context, and
Billy's apologized. I don't even know if he needed to. I guess from a PR standpoint, but he apologized on Wednesday. I guess
the lack of context makes it sound like he was calling Gator fans just morons that don't know anything, that just sit and have Twitter fingers. I don't really think that's what he was saying.
I don't think that's what he was saying at all.
And I mean, the crux of the point he was making was basically, we got to shut out outside noise and worry about football.
Yeah, we got enough to worry about in here. We don't need to worry about...
Which is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Okay, because...
And they do have enough to worry about, no question.
I mean, the one thing he probably said in the press conference that I agreed with was, we got to worry about the football thing.
Yeah.
It's a disaster, man. So, I agree with you. I didn't have a huge problem with it. But, as long as they keep losing, things he says are going to be ripped apart, man. That's just how it goes.
So, a good slate of games this week, which I want to get to. Quickly to tomorrow. I don't think we need an X's and O's breakdown of Samford. Again, they lost to West Georgia last week, and it was West Georgia's first game in Division I college football. This is a paycheck game. If this game is anything less than 40 points in the fourth quarter, it's a disappointing showing by the Gators. But it is DJ Lagway, and it appears he will get the start. Graham Mertz in concussion protocol. What everybody's asking the entire week, if DJ Lagway goes out there and goes 25 of 31 for 312 yards and three touchdowns,
no picks,
and runs for another 90 yards and a score, is he the quarterback for Texas A&M? And I've said all week, no, I don't believe he will be. Billy Napier knows he's coaching for his job, and you honestly cannot tell me that Graham Mertz would not be the better option over DJ Lagway against a team like Texas A&M.
But is that the best outlook for him to keep his job? Or is it to give Gator fans hope that you have this young five-star
No,
QB?
You need to win. You said it. You need to win. Who gives them a better chance to beat Texas A&M? I don't care about hope next Saturday. I care about having more points on the scoreboard than the Texas A&M Aggies. Hope is fine, and hope springs eternal, and that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, there comes a time where you just need to win a game. And if it's Graham Mertz, a healthy Graham Mertz, or DJ Lagway against Texas A&M next Saturday, I find it hard to believe that it would be Lagway giving them the best chance to actually win the game.
Mertz did not play well against Miami, man.
He did not. DJ Lagway played when Miami was in a prevent. Miami didn't care.
Yeah, I know. We got to see more.
41-10 game.
I'm not telling you Lagway looked like John Elway, but I'm just telling you Mertz did not play well.
He didn't. He was overshooting a lot of guys. I'm not sure exactly how much separation the receivers were getting, mind you. That goes back into my whole thing about Miami having much better skill position guys. In fact, Shane Matthews did a breakdown of one of the Badger routes. It was horrible. It was a horribly run route that Graham Mertz thought he was going to do something, and Badger just didn't do it. Again, that could potentially be coaching. But you sound like you're on the Lagway train if he looks good tomorrow, which is fine. I just cannot for the life of me picture a scenario where Graham Mertz is healthy if you actually want to beat Texas A&M where you would think Lagway gives you a better shot.
See, like, I think I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Now, look, I think this is a moot point anyways because I think Napier is going to start Mertz next week.
And I would.
Regardless.
I would.
So we're kind of arguing a hypothetical that's not going to happen, in my opinion. I think Napier's not the type of coach that takes big leaps. He's not a big, drastic, emotional decision type of coach. So he's going to play Mertz if he's healthy, I believe. That said, I don't know that Mertz gives you the best chance to win. I get he's more experienced. I get he's played college football for 1,200 years. And I get that this offense is, he knows the offense better and he knows the playbooks and terminology and Lagway's young and yada, yada, yada. But what I saw against Miami was a terrible offense that can't move the ball to save its life. This team is going to struggle mightily to run the football. And they have one guy that can go out there and catch a pass effectively. Their other weapons have shown me nothing.
Right.
By the way.
You're kind of making my point for me, though.
I'm about to not.
Okay.
I think that this offense, as it currently stands with Mertz at the helm, has no hope. Okay, because you have maybe an average to above average quarterback that's a high completion percentage guy, more of a don't screw it up than a make plays above the X's and O's type of player. Lagway might be make plays above the X's and O's type of guy, and they might have that to have any type of success on offense. Not to mention the fact that his legs being an extra factor in the run game and potentially keeping handoffs will help them run the ball. That I know for sure. And I just think that the offense was so piss poor. I don't see a world where Mertz at the helm they figured out and look way better. I think what we saw against Miami is what they are.
I think you throw Lagway out there, you're throwing him to the Wolves. Offensive line's
yeah,
terrible.
you might.
You're throwing him to the Wolves. And
do
you want to throw an 18-year-old true freshman in his first start in an SEC game to the Wolves against that A&M defense? An A&M defense, mind you, that did very well against Notre Dame. They didn't lose the game because of the A&M defense. They lost the game because A&M couldn't score enough points. Riley Leonard, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, struggled against that A&M defense. And you're going to throw DJ Lagway out there against them with that offensive line and all that? I think that is it's like that Anthony Richardson game.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Remember all the Gator fans, all the Gator fans.
It's not like
Hold on. All these Florida fans. Put Anthony Richardson in. We want to see Anthony Richardson. And Dan Mullen said, okay, you want to see Anthony Richardson? There you go. And how'd that work out?
Okay, couple things. There were multiple games before that Georgia game they could have put Anthony Richardson in and let him get a little bit of reps before. I mean, Anthony Richardson suited up and played, or he didn't play, but he suited up in that Vanderbilt game they played before Georgia. You remember that game at home? It was homecoming?
Yeah, you got some. Anthony Richardson got some snaps before that Georgia game in that year.
A few, but not sparingly. He should have started that Vandy game, in my opinion, because Emory Jones had looked pretty rough the weeks prior. And the main reason it's different, that Georgia defense might be the best college football defense ever. That's like a historically good.
Yeah, A&M's probably not Georgia. That's fair.
And
I still think that A&M defense is pretty good.
And again, this is earlier in the year too, so that's a big difference. This is game 3 versus after the bye week, so that's a big difference as well, in my opinion. And then the main thing is, like, look, you're saying that you're throwing Lagway to the Wolves. He's a freshman. That's unfair to put all that on him. He's brand new to college football, and you're throwing a lot at him against a really good defense right away. You're kind of setting him up to fail.
In a game you need to win. Yes,
right. Okay.
All of that.
Okay. I agree with all of that. My point is, I don't think they have a better alternative. I don't think that Mertz is going to go in there against A&M and look efficient and look good because they don't have an efficient and good offense. And Mertz is not a guy that plays above the X's and O's. Mertz is be at the controls, get the ball to open guys when they're there, and it's
he was a 20 touchdown, 3 interception guy
last year. They had a better offense. They ran the ball well last year. Trevor Etienne was one of the best backs in the SEC, and they had one of the best 1-2 punches with him and Johnson. They couldn't run the ball to save their lives against Miami, and I don't see a world where it gets much better.
I think...
And they had Ricky Pearsall.
Right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. It's just a differing of opinion. And we'll see. I ultimately think you are right and that Napier will start Mertz. I think he should. You obviously question that. But you know what's going to happen, man. It's going to happen tomorrow. Lagway's going to go out there. He's going to look incredible against Inglewood High School or whoever they're playing, Samford. And Gator fans are going to be clamoring, Lagway, Lagway, Lagway. Let that A&M coaching staff get a week's worth of film on him. Let that A&M defense get a week's worth of film on him. And with that offensive line that Florida has and the lack of weapons, and you're going to put Lagway out there on national TV at 3:30 on Saturday afternoon against Texas A&M, that just seems like a horrible idea to me.
I guess my whole point is that there's a very realistic world where everything you just said can happen, and it's a bad idea and it cannot turn out well. I don't disagree with you. But I think my point here is I would rather roll the dice with that and see if maybe this guy's just so spectacular that he figures it out and he's that athletic and that good that they're just figuring it out because he's just that talented, versus going with what I feel like I know is exactly what's going to happen with Mertz. They're going to run the same 6 or 7 plays they run all the time. A&M's going to be ready for it. They're going to pick him off like once, like the Miami game. And it's not Mertz's fault. It's not because Mertz is a bad player. It's because that right side of the offensive line is basically you and me blocking for him.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
I thought it couldn't get worse than Damian George at tackle last year. I was wrong.
Yeah.
It got worse.
It did get worse. And then I'll do one up. Damian George at guard is horrendous. And Mertz can move a little, but he doesn't have the athleticism to overcome a terrible offensive line. Lagway probably won't because he's a true freshman. It's probably going to be tough for him too, but he might. He might be able to make Houdini. I think that they are where they're at right now offensively is so low. I don't think they have much of a choice but to try out the 5-star and see what he can do.
Let's get to the games tomorrow. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists brings you Gator Bytes. They're Northeast Florida's leading orthopedic center, providing an unparalleled level of care across numerous locations in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine. That includes Riverside, Northside, the South Side, the beaches, Fleming Island, and St. John's. Texas, Michigan. Marquee game of the week in college football. Don't have to wait long for it. A high noon kick in the Big House. What do you think between Texas and Michigan?
Texas wins that game.
Probably. My thing with Michigan, though, and again, they lost a lot, and Harbaugh's not there anymore. Where Michigan, Ohio State's got a bunch of athletes the last couple of years, and Michigan's handled those athletes. Can Michigan handle the Texas athletes? I think it's a very similar thing. Michigan, power football, you don't think they can out-athlete anybody. Well, they've out-athleted Ohio State in the last couple of years. They're probably going to have to do that tomorrow against Texas. The question is, can they do it?
Yeah, I still like that. Better QB, better team all around. They got to go there, so that's tough. I think the SEC, after a tough week 1, overall wise against other conferences, I think they kind of get right a little bit with that.
There's a lot of these games. So you like Texas. I'm kind of leaning Michigan there, to be honest. Arkansas, Oklahoma State. SEC Big 12. That should be a good one.
Where is it at?
Is it a neutral site game? No, it's in Stillwater. Wow. Okay.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah. I thought it was one of maybe those Dallas games or something, but apparently the game is in Stillwater. Because of that, I'll go Oklahoma State.
The person most thankful for Billy Napier right now is Sam Pittman.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's a lot of people that are thankful. Mike Norvell is pretty thankful for Billy Napier right now. Cal Auburn. The game is on the Plains. Nothing says ACC SEC battle like Cal going to Auburn for conference supremacy.
Auburn wins.
I don't know much about Cal, but apparently they're like a bowl caliber team. People think they're going to go 6-7 wins.
They beat the Gators,
Yes, they would beat the Gators. I go Auburn. Auburn's at home. I agree with you. We'll save that one for later. USF have anything for Alabama? Does
No.
USF keep it close in the first half?
First half, sure. Byron Brown's a beast.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Yeah, USF, it might be a 2-touchdown game at halftime. Alabama
They'll score a couple of
pull
points.
away.
They'll score some points. They'll have a couple of touchdown drives probably, but I bet they give up 50+ easily.
Oklahoma should handle Houston. Mississippi State goes to Tempe, Arizona. A 10:30 Eastern kick tomorrow night. Mississippi State at Arizona State. That's a tough trip for the Bulldogs.
I'm going to be honest with you. I know nothing about Arizona State's current team. I can't tell you one player on their roster. Mississippi State's kind of got a new era going on too. Ooh, I got no idea.
I'll root for them, but I don't know if I'm going to stay up to watch that one. Imagine being a Mississippi State fan. You got to stay up till 10:30 Eastern just for kickoff. That thing's going to get over at 2 in the morning.
I'll be awake.
You'll be awake. You'll be living it up in Miami, getting ready for Jackson.
Even if I was here, dude, I love late night ball.
Do you?
Dude, it's my man. Pac-12 After Dark in its heyday, I loved it, dude.
All right, 2 more games.
Especially after the bars, man. You get you some Taco Bell. You go home, you watch you a little bit of Washington State, Oregon State on a Saturday night, man. Nothing gets the blood flowing like that.
I remember those Taco Bell evenings, believe me. Tennessee, North Carolina State. Where's this game? This game's in Charlotte, I believe. Tennessee and NC State.
So it's at BOA Stadium?
Yeah, it's where the Panthers play.
Tennessee wins.
That's a good game.
Yeah, it is a good game. Tennessee wins by 7.
North Carolina State struggled last week against Western Carolina. I think they were looking ahead to this game. NC State, I've been talking to people that cover that team. They've kind of circled this one for a while. This is a big game for them. 7:30, national TV, ABC.
They got Grayson McCall leading the helm,
yeah,
dude.
former Coastal Carolina quarterback.
Between Grayson McCall and Nico Iamaleava, that's a good. Can you pronounce his name, by the way?
No, I'll go Nico. It's DJU in Tallahassee and Nico in Knoxville.
You can pronounce DJU. He's been a part.
DJ Ui Ungalale.
There you go.
All right. So
what about Nico's? Come on, one try.
What is it?
Iamaleava.
Nico Imo Aliava?
Iamaleava. There you go.
Iamaleava.
Yep.
He's Nico. All right. The first and only tomorrow, but the first of the year, SEC battle. South Carolina goes to Kentucky. ABC with the SEC at 3:30 tomorrow. South Carolina goes to Lexington. South Carolina survived.
Yeah.
Old Dominion last
Kentucky
week.
wins that. Kentucky wins by 10.
Napier's in trouble. Shane Beamer might be in trouble.
Shane Beamer's a clown.
In about a month or two.
Shane Beamer's an absolute clown. I think that guy is such a clown. I don't think he's done much at all of consequence in his own career other than his last name being Beamer. I think every time he loses, he blames the refs, he blames the media, he finds somebody to blame that's not named Shane Beamer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that guy.
Well, it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to South Carolina, Kentucky. Other games of note, Middle Tennessee, Ole Miss. Ole Miss shouldn't have any issue there. Buffalo, Missouri. I wouldn't think Missouri would have any issue there. Georgia's playing Tennessee Tech. Yuck. A&M, McNeese. Yuck. And then Florida, Samford. I mean, Florida's going to win the game, but they can't possibly struggle with Samford, right? They can't possibly. This team lost to West Georgia last week. You can't struggle with Samford. This is not the Samford, by the way, that put like 50 on Florida a couple of years ago. Remember that? It's also a Samford team that gave Florida State a pretty good game in Tallahassee a few years ago. Obviously, Samford sits them down times if they're losing to teams like West Georgia.
And I know everybody in Gator Nation hates Emory Jones. Dude, he saved them in that game. He played really.
Samford game,
set the if he didn't set the record, they don't win.
I mean, I think Florida wins the game 55-13, 55-16. Samford at least scored last week. They might have an offense. But Florida wins the game, and then all eyes are to Texas A&M, and that's a big one.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the spread here for the game.
Oh, jeez, I can't even imagine what it is. Would a game like that even have a spread? I guess it would.
Yeah, it would. Florida.
I would guesstimate Florida's 30. 7-point favorite.
I can't find. God, there's just so many college football games. It takes you forever to find them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, something like that. That sounds probably about right. Dude, I don't want to say they can't struggle against. I don't think they will, but I don't want to say they can't, man. What I saw Saturday, man, was the most disappointed I've ever been as a Gator fan.
It'll be interesting to see where they are emotionally, because I would imagine you want to talk about a Gordon Soley shot to the solar plexus. That is what the Gators had last week in that loss to Miami. So you wonder where they kind of are.
I have no idea what you just said.
Okay, it's a wrestling reference from the 70s and 80s. A shot to the abdomen, kind of taking the wind out of your sails. The solar plexus is what they used to call them in wrestling.
Literally did not know one iota.
You know who Gordon Soley is?
No idea.
Oh my gosh, people are not going to believe that.
I'm not a wrestling guy.
Okay. Nevertheless, it's taking the wind out of your sails. A shot to the stomach. Maybe that's a better reference for you. I think a lot of air went out of the balloon last week for the Gators. It'll be interesting to see how excited and fired up they come out to be in what's probably going to be a 55,000, 60,000 person crowd. Having said all that, Sanford's awful. So they'll win the game easily, and then we'll have a lot to discuss next week heading into A&M.
Yes. Can I read some two comments here from our Facebook?
Yeah.
Just to show the state of Gator fandom right now. Okay, so
I'm happy your eyesight's good. I couldn't read that if my wife depended on it.
So shout out Stephen Holmes Jr. He made a comment a while ago. Call me crazy, but I feel like there's a lot of overreaction after the Miami game. The team still has everything to play for. Sure, they looked terrible, but it was still one game, and we don't know how the offense will look with DJ. Got to see how we look against A&M. That will tell us all we need to know.
I disagree with that.
What part do you disagree with?
Pretty much everything. You had 8 months to prepare for an opener at home. You knew how important it was. You knew what was on the line, not only for you, but for your opponent. You knew the recruiting element of it, the state bragging rights of it, the perception of it. You knew all that. You were at home, start a new year. You had talked a big game. Everything was in your favor. People were actually picking you to win the game. Like me, I was an idiot. And you go out there and put out a performance like that. No, we learned a lot about this Gator team in a very negative way last Saturday.
I tend to agree with you more on that. I think the points he's making are fair, but I don't think it's an overreaction. I don't think anybody that's really upset right now is overreacting. I think it's warranted. Terry Cox, shout out Terry, who agrees with me. LOL, we had the best skill guy on the field with Wilson, and Mertz couldn't hit the broadside of a bar and play DJ, period.
No.
He obviously wasn't that bad, but this is Terry left the follow-up that I agree with more. The offense is too predictable with Mertz playing.
No,
that I agree with.
And that may be, but
but
this is not NCAA football on PlayStation. All right, putting out an 18-year-old out there with that offensive line, you're going to get him sacked 5 or 6 times. Who knows what that's going to do to his confidence? He's not going to have anybody making plays for him downfield. He's going to be running for his life. Miami didn't have an ounce of tape on him, and they were in a prevent anyway. I just think that it all sounds good in theory. Oh, let's play the true freshman, the Gatorade Player of the Year. I mean, that sounds great. That sounds wonderful. Reality is different. I always talk about this, and Florida's living this right now. June, July, August in college football, those are the months of hope, right? Everybody's hopeful. Everybody thinks they're going to go to the 12-team playoff. Everybody's fired up. There's hope. September is reality, and that tends to strike you in the face. And reality struck Florida in the face in a big way last Saturday. The hope is that DJ Lagway will be great, and maybe he will be. Maybe I'm dead wrong about this. But if you actually want to win the game against Texas A&M, and you're not going to know what's going to happen until the game starts, obviously. So you have to make this on the fly before the game kicks off. To tell me that you think beforehand that putting DJ Lagway out there gives you a better chance to beat Texas A&M than putting Graham Mertz out there, I just disagree with that.
What are the chances?
And hindsight will be 20/20. If Lagway goes out there and is great, well, then you can say, Hacker's an idiot. But we don't know. You have to make the decision before the game is played. That's why Billy Napier and the staff get paid the big bucks.
Let me ask you this: what is the chances that Florida beats A&M with Mertz at QB?
Based on what I saw last week, 30%.
That's kind of my entire point.
But I think it might be 15% with Lagway.
It might be 5% with Lagway.
But so that would mean Mertz would give you the better chance.
But it might be with Lagway, the unknown. The simplest way to say my argument right now is the unknown, I think, is better than the known because the known is so bad.
Everybody loves the true freshman quarterback. Everybody loves the backup quarterback. It's football 101. When your offense struggles, everybody thinks that Tim Tebow is sitting over there on that sideline.
But the point is, this is a team that has no hope right now. Like, they have zero hope, and the fans have zero hope. This isn't a team that is this isn't like the Muschamp or McElwain years where they had this great defense and these good weapons, but they just couldn't get it done at quarterback, so they kept cycling through guys. This isn't that. This is a team with a coach that's a dead man walking, and I think Billy Napier's only chance of reviving his job is DJ Lagway being really good.
I know that might answer my question. We got to go quick here, but don't be Graham Marsh, the 1010XL Gator Bytes guy. Put yourself in Billy Napier's shoes. You've got to beat A&M. If you don't beat A&M, the sky's going to start falling pretty quick. You got to beat A&M. Knowing that, again, not Graham Marsh, Billy Napier. You put Mertz in or Lagway?
I think I put Lagway in, man.
I disagree. But that's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes a good conversation. I still love you. We can disagree.
I think you're only, like, you're saying that Mertz is the better option.
I'm saying Mertz gives you a better chance to beat Texas A&M. Does he give you a better chance a month from now? Does he give you a better chance 2 weeks from now? I don't know that. But in 8 days, when you play Texas A&M, if Graham Mertz is healthy, has cleared protocol and is healthy, I think on, what would that be, September 14th. I think on Saturday, September 14th at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, Graham Mertz gives you a better chance to beat A&M than DJ Lagway does.
Maybe. We'll see.
Well, we'll be back to recap it. I'm sure that'll be a big part of our topic next week leading into A&M. We'll recap Samford. We better not be talking about a close game. We better not be talking about a game that's even within 20 or 30 points. This better be a beating of pretty big proportions, playing a team that, again, lost to who last week? West?
Georgia.
Not Georgia. Not Georgia State or Georgia Tech. They lost to West Georgia.
Not West Florida. Shout out the Argonauts.
Florida needs to take care of business. He is Graham Marsh. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. Thank you for watching and listening to Gator Bytes. 1010XL.com and the Florida Gator 1010XL Facebook page.